Hello, and welcome to my channel. If you're a returning viewer, or the returning viewer, thank you for returning. And if you're a first-time viewer, do please consider sticking around. So, what are we talking about today? Today, we're going to be having a look at not Dracula, my copy's there somewhere, but Draculas. So, what could be worse than one Dracula, but many Draculas? This book is actually quite interesting because it's a combination effort between four well-known horror authors. There's, let me see, where's the, I'm just searching for these. There's Blake Crouch, there's Jack Konrath, Jack Kilbourne, sorry, Jeff Stroud, and F. Paul Wilson. So of these four authors, I'm familiar with Blake Crouch, Jeff Strand, I've just read a book by him, and F. Paul Wilson, who wrote The Keep, which is one of my favourite horror books. I think he's really excellent. Blake Crouch, I think, is a decent author. I think he's pretty good. He writes real page turners. He's written Abandon, he's written the Wayward Pines series, and he's a pretty prolific author. Jeff Strand, I think, is a less prolific author. The only thing that I've read from him is a collaboration, The Haunted Forest, which I reviewed recently. If you haven't seen that video, I urge you to watch it because it would boost my ratings and it would help enrich your cultural level. So, I've been waffling on for bloody ages. What's Dracula's about? Well, I'm just going to read you the quick blurb on the back, save us all a bit of time. Okay, a dying man's greatest treasure. Mortimer Moorcock. I like the way that the guy's not called Moorcock. I think Mortimer Moorcock would roll off the tongue better. And also, with a name like Moorcock, it would give people like me who make videos, a bit more ammunition to make jokes. So, whoever, the authors kind of took the higher road here, I think, by calling him Moorcock. So Moorcock, he's a retired Wall Street raider, so we already know that he's not very moral. Avid collector is losing his fight against cancer. With weeks to live, a package arrives at the door of his hillside mansion. An artifact he paid millions for, a hominid skull with elongated teeth, discovered in a farmer's field in the Romanian countryside. With Shanna, his beautiful research assistant, looking on, he sinks the skull's razor-sharp fangs into his neck and immediately goes into convulsions. So there we have it. We've got an incredibly rich man, rich, wealthy, full of resources. He's dying of cancer, and by God, he's not having it. So his solution is to, buy this artifact. So we can get the idea that he's got the idea that obviously, it's going to give him eternal life or it's going to heal him somehow. And sinks, as it says in the blurb, he sinks the teeth, these elongated teeth, into his neck. So he immediately starts having convulsions, what have you. He's taken to a very isolated hospital. And as you can imagine, things go from bad to worse because very, very quickly, the Dracula curse spreads. Now, I'm going to give you, that's kind of the outline of the story. I haven't really given you any spoilers, but impressions of the story. So what have we got? We've got the Dracula legend, okay? We've got the vampirism. Now, the vampirism in this case is different from, say, Salem's Lot, completely. It's more of a kind of 28 days later kind of thing where the people who are infected succumb to the infection pretty quick, straight away, really. And they become ravening monsters hungry for blood. Again, I'm not really spoiling the story because, this is the general you can kind of infer that this is what's going to happen just from reading the blurb. You've got an isolated hospital, which is, of course, an isolated location. And you've got a cast of characters who are trying to survive this. So when I first read the first few pages, I wasn't really massively enthused. I thought, well, okay, it sounds like fun, goofy fun. Don't get me wrong, it's called Draculas. I'm not expecting, war and peace or crime and punishment. But I thought, okay, it'd be just good, goofy fun. And that's exactly what it is. It's goofy fun. It's a great read. It's really, really enjoyable. And the thing that struck me was as the story goes on and on, I really got to care about, the characters. There are several central characters to it, all doing their best to kill vampires and survive, not necessarily in that order. And it works really, really well. It's well written, considering that there are four different writers collaborating on this. It's pretty. I think it's pretty seamless. It's not. There are no jarring, segues where you're thinking, oh my god, and no, they're all very, very. It's a very, very coherent story. If you read in the back, the authors are talking about their experience of writing this book, and they talk about how they wrote which specific characters and so on and so forth. But it works really, really well. I mean, they are four talented authors. As I say, I'm most familiar with Blake Crouch and F. Paul Wilson. I mean, I've only read one of F. Paul Wilson's books, The Keep, but it's one of my favourite books. Again, this is also a take on the vampire legend as well, which is very, very good. The only thing that I would say that I didn't like about Draculas really is that, as I said before, the vampires are essentially kind of like ravening zombies. Apart from the ground zero vampire who retains, intelligence and so on, as is usually the case in these stories, the vampire, they're just like drooling, crazy, blood-crazed monsters. That's fine. It's just a personal preference of mine. I've never liked zombie fiction for this particular reason. I've never liked zombies, movies or books, because I'm not interested in these kinds of like ravening psycho protagonists with nothing going on upstairs. I like a certain amount of lore. For example, I go on and on about Salem's Lot on this channel, and that's why I like Salem's Lot, because I really, really like the vampire legend. The fact that vampires have to be invited in. The fear of the crucifix, and so the power of belief. The fact that it's just another thing. I like monsters in general to be a bit more layered rather than some sort of mindless ravening creature. For example, I'm not a great fan of creature features, creature fiction where there's just some mindless monster, wrecking stuff. It can be good fun. It can be done well, but it's not my favourite. But that's my own personal prejudice. So Draculas, I would definitely recommend it because it's really, really good fun. It's a really, really good read. It's very enjoyable. And it's interesting to see how the four authors, gel together. If you're familiar with the work of these authors, more familiar than I am, surely, you could read through it and think, okay, that's Blake Crouch, that's Jeff Strand, that's F. Paul Wilson, that's Konrath. If it could also be fun for this reason as well. So that's my quick review of Draculas. If you like this video, please consider giving a like and a subscribe. It would be really, really greatly appreciated. And see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.